Listen closely. You finally secured the house, the car, and the respectable position. Yet you wake up every single day feeling like your entire life is on the brink of collapse. You spent years hustling under the assumption that reaching the top of the ladder would buy you peace of mind. But the actual reward for all your effort has been pure, unadulterated paranoia. Your brain is locked in a constant loop of panic. You obsess over sudden medical emergencies. You stress over market crashes wiping out your bank account. And you live in terror that your hard-earned social status could be stripped away by tomorrow morning. This pervasive dread stems from a specific cognitive glitch. Ancient thinkers identified this psychological friction as the Shi Shen, the greedy, conscious mind. It is the part of your psyche that demands permanent, absolute possession of things that are strictly temporary. This demand for permanence violates the fundamental laws of the system. You are trying to negotiate with a universe that does not allow anything to stand still. Gripping your gains too tightly creates massive internal resistance. This friction acts like a parasite, aggressively draining your Jing Qi Shen, your vital survival energy. You are exhausting your life force just to keep your hands closed tight. Attempting to freeze time and hold on to your gains forever ensures you will eventually be crushed by reality's inevitable turnover. To see exactly how this glitch plays out, we can look at a historical record found in the classic text, The Eternal Cycle, Beyond the Fear of Loss. Centuries ago, Duke Jing of Qi stood at the peak of Mount Nu. He looked down at his prosperous, vast kingdom, taking in all the wealth and power he had amassed. Suddenly, the Duke suffered a complete emotional breakdown. He burst into tears, weeping at the realization that he would eventually die, and therefore could not rule his kingdom forever. Seeing their ruler cry, his sycophants and ministers immediately fell to their knees, weeping loudly right alongside him to flatter his royal ego. But one man refused to cry. Yanzi, a pragmatic statesman, stood apart from the sobbing crowd and let out a cold, despairing laugh. Yanzi recognized that the Duke's tears represented the logical endpoint of the greedy mind, the delusion that possession should be eternal. Yanzi delivered a brutal reality check to his weeping king. He pointed out that if humans never died and leaders never lost their power, the Duke's grandfather and great-grandfather would still be sitting on the throne right now. Without his ancestors losing their grip on power, the Duke wouldn't be a king crying on a mountaintop. He would currently be a weary peasant in a straw hat, working a muddy rice paddy. This is a direct suppression of the hoarding mindset. Your current wealth, your status, and your comfortable position exist exclusively because the previous generation lost theirs and exited the stage. This points to the macro mechanism Taoists call Xian Tian Yi Qi, primordial energy. It dictates an inescapable cycle of birth, growth, and destruction. Energy cannot be captured. It can only be circulated. Look at the destruction phase here. This universal law proves that loss is the mathematical prerequisite for any new gain to enter the system. The breakdown of the old is the fuel for the new. To fear loss is to misunderstand the math that allowed you to achieve your current life in the first place. Once you accept that permanently holding on to wealth or status is a mathematical impossibility, your brain's primary objective has to change. Because the conscious mind, the Shi Shen, is built to label and hoard, it will always be in conflict with a cycle of constant turnover. To function here, you must operate from the Shen Tian Yuan Shen, the part of the psyche that observes the flow without attempting to stop it. This shift changes how you process reality. It views life, wealth, and success as the temporary gathering and dispersing of energy, rather than rigid objects to be locked in a vault. In practice, this means you accept new gains with arrogance, and you absorb losses without despair. You recognize both are simply the weather of the universe. True survival requires flowing like water alongside this natural cycle, rather than building a rigid dam that the universe will eventually dismantle. Every moment worrying about losing what you have wastes your vital survival energy. You are fighting the river instead of riding it. This shift is a necessary mental reset to navigate the overwhelming pressure of the modern world. If you want to stop living in fear and rewrite your brain's programming, hit subscribe right now. I will continue to deconstruct the specific frameworks ancient thinkers used to maintain their footing in volatile times. Claiming agency over your existence begins the moment you reconcile your expectations with the reality of turnover.